Hi everyone. So Balsa already introduced me, but I will just introduce me shortly for the new ones. I will be moderator of this session. That is the influence of art on shaping today's society, or art as a vehicle for social change. So my name is Marko Gosovic. I come from Montenegro, and I worked as an associate professor at Faculty of Visual Arts, University Mediterranean, where in the field of creative industries. So this session, the guests will be or domestic one, because a lot of them are from the University of Mediterranean or Faculty of Visual Arts. So there are the Katarina Lakovic from Faculty of Visual Arts, University Mediterranean, Podgorica, Montenegro. Also, we have Anilla. She's a PhD candidate at Corvinus University in Budapest, Romania. And also Balsa Gobovic from Faculty of Visual Arts, University Mediterranean, Podgorica, Montenegro. What?
We were just logging.
Okay. So the first presentation will be held by Katarina Lakovic. Firstly, to read her biography. Katarina Lakovic is a visual artist, the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Visual Arts, and a lecturer in the field of graphic design at the University Mediterranean Podgorica. She has been engaged as a master's student at FVU since 2015, when she obtained a diploma in visual artistry. From 2021, she took over the role of Vice Dean for teaching. She has 6 solo exhibitions. Her work mostly consists of Code and Kamen, or the Stone series. Code is the series of drawing made with washed ink, and Kamen is the aquarelle series of drawing. In the last couple of years, she had entered the field of art installation and is currently working on a Purgatory series of exhibitions considering negative parts of artist's life. During her studies, she did a lot of murals that were all part of humanitarian work at the Faculty of Visual Arts. So Katarina will present us today. She's a lecture about Code drawing series to Purgatory art installation. So Katarina, you're welcome to start.
Hello. I just need to share the screen. Okay, so as Marko said, I'm Katarina, and today I will be talking about code drawing series and how I made it from the drawings to the Purgatory art installations. At first, I'd like to start with reading a small text about codes that I've written like back in 2018, and I still find it relatable and so code is thinking about topics that impacted me, every man, somewhere deep in his subconscious.
Sorry,
Katja, we have some technical issues. It's the voice is stuck or something. Do you have a good Wi-Fi connection there?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Now it's better.
Okay. So code is the product of thinking about topics that impacted the author subconsciously. Every man, somewhere deep in his being and his subconscious, has a written code about his origins, as well as the origins of everything that surrounds him and the entire cosmos. Code is the word that can define it, but in essence, code is the path to knowing things that one is not aware of. The problem is to define thoughts on this topic, which is why the author in this series of drawings lets her subconscious to interpret her views of the code or just fragments of the code through lines, surfaces, points, and other elements. In each drawing, we can find similarities with elements from nature, from cells, microorganisms to the planets, the universe, everyday events in nature of which we are not, or of which we are aware or not. So these were the first codes that were made in 2017, especially this one. This was like the first one. And as you can see, these are all made with washed ink and washed ink. Most of them are made with black ink, but I also used white ink combined with black ink. These first ones were like too detailed, too controlled, because I can say that I'm a bit of a control freak. And because of that, my mentor at the time, Maria, which is my colleague now, she told me that I have to let loose and that my art should look a bit simpler and that I don't have to control it that much. So the next codes that I made were made by following her instructions. So they were not controlled as much. As you can see, first I did the backgrounds of the drawings with washed ink mostly, and then I added details, like not as much as I added in the first codes that I've ever made, but a lot less details. And they all look, when people look at my codes, they all find different elements from nature and from cosmos and from everything that surrounds us. After the white series or the normal series, code series, I made the code black series, which happened actually really spontaneously. I just went to the art shop and I saw the black aquarelle paper, which is also used for ink because it absorbs ink better. And I thought, okay, if I made the white codes, why cannot make black codes now and see what happens? So I took the black paper and white ink. Also, there are some parts with the black ink, but mostly white ink, and tried to do the codes in like a reversed, or how to say it? Yeah, reversed mode. I turned black into white and white into black, okay? So I also think that black codes are a bit more detailed than the white ones because I used to do like more backgrounds, like 2 to 3 layers of background with washed ink, and then adding a lot more layers of details above the multiple layers of background. So when it comes to these, I don't know, some people, for example, told me that they see that this particular black code reminds them of the baby ultrasound or something like that, or that some of these remind them of trees or plants or cells, or I don't know. In some of them, I used some of my peculiar, but I don't know. It's just signs that I somehow that somehow came to me, because code is actually inspired by a place. I don't know. Most of you probably read about quantum vacuum, or it's called quantum vacuum in quantum physics, but it's called universal mind or collective consciousness in psychology. And it's an imaginary place where all the information is stored. It's somehow like an iCloud, but all the information about the universe and the beginning of the universe and everything about every person is stored. I like to call it the source, and with the code series, I tried to connect to that source somehow, and to find out some information about myself, about my own being, about my soul, about everything that I'm supposed to do in this life. These are the pictures from the code exhibitions. This was the one that was a part of Science Days here in Montenegro, and these were some of the scientists from Montenegro and also CERN from Switzerland, and they also seen some of the cell particles, cell splits, and other elements from chemistry and physics and biology in my artworks, which I wasn't aware of at the time. These are also the pictures of some of the spaces that I've exhibited code series, and at every space, at every gallery, I worked with different gallerists and technicians, and every exhibition was done differently. When it comes to doing code series, on the other hand, I started doing some projects, small projects with ready-made objects, which were mostly part of conceptual art, and by introducing myself with conceptual art, then art installations, but we can also call them art installations somehow, because they include objects. The first one is called Realis, and I made it in my own bedroom with the TV and the bed sheet, and I took a photo of it, and then after it I edited it in Photoshop, and it was supposed to tell a story about how the media is changing everything that we look at on the TV, or that the picture that is filmed isn't the one that we see at the end on our own screens. The other artwork is called Gold Mold, and I took the molded bread and gold paint, and then I spread the gold paint like you spread butter on a bread, but I spread it on the crusts of the bread, and it is supposed to tell a story about how some people are golden on the outside, but they're molded and bad on the inside. The next artwork, I mean, there were much more, but I chose to show only these three. This one is special because it will be like an introduction to my latest work, or the artwork that I'm currently working on for my next exhibition. This is actually an otter hip bone that I found on a lake, near a lake. And this is just a mirrored photo. I just took it to show you that everything can be made into art. And I use this photo to make a lot of digital collages and other art with illustrations. How the Purgatory exhibition started. I used to collect a lot of old things and stuff like that in case I make art with them. And in the talk with my colleague Maria that I mentioned before, and she also she also spoke yesterday about art therapy. We started talking one day and doing some of our own art just to relax after work. And then I use these ashes that I've collected, and we were just talking, and through that talk we came to realization that we can make an exhibition together. And the name Purgatory actually was derived from the ashes. We somehow came to to the name Purgatory by thinking about the ashes and associating ashes with everything that we could. These were the prints of vinyl records that I've just printed on the bed sheet and colored them similar to codes, but it was just a test, and from that test the Purgatory exhibition came out. The first work for Purgatory exhibition was this object that I made from I don't know how it's called in English. It's some kind of styrofoam, but it's a bit more stiff, and it's harder than styrofoam, like a bit more compressed. And in it, I first carved it in this particular shape that I wasn't like really glad and happy with, because I imagined it differently, but this was my first sculpture and object, so I chose to present it to the audience, even though it didn't came out the way that I wanted. And in it there were no sprays that I was highly addicted to at the time, and then I covered it in black paint, pardon me, and this was the end result of the object. So yeah, I wasn't really happy with how it came out, but it was telling the story that I wanted to be told. These two are the artworks of my colleague Maria that I had to include because this was our exhibition together. And she took the boxes of cigarettes and painted them in gold with some white linear forms that represent lungs. And they were pinpoint on this large curtain, white curtain. This was the artwork that is maybe better presented here. I used the old vinyl records with Montenegrin and Yugoslavenian folk and I don't know, pop artists that belonged to my late grandparents, and the wool knit that belonged to my late grandma, and made an artwork from it that represents a part of my life. This mirror that can be seen here, maybe better, was
Sorry, Katja, just
also
to
my
remind
late
you-
grandma's mirror.
Just to remind you of time. A little bit.
Okay, how much time do I have?
The limit
Okay.
is over.
I'll be fast from now on. Okay. So these letters weren't the part of this this exhibition, but as you can see, they really look like I painted them. So I decided to include them in this artwork, in this particular Purgatory exhibition, because this was the second time I think that we exhibited the Purgatory exhibition. And okay, I'm getting close to the end. This is my latest artwork that is not presented yet, but this is like the mood board. These are the horse bones that I found on hill Fundina, which is very important for Montenegrin history. And one of the biggest battles was held right on the Fundina, where 4,000, I think, or 5,000 of Montenegrin soldiers battled against 40,000 Ottoman Empire soldiers, and Montenegrins won. Pardon. So I chose to use the horse bones in two meanings, because of the historical meaning of Hill Fundina, and also because I don't eat red meat for 17 years, and horse meat is usually the only red meat that people who eat lamb, pork or beef don't eat because they think of a horse as a noble animal, and they wouldn't eat its meat. And I want to present it on a table that is set like this, with the candle holders and everything, and the bones in the middle. So I think that it will have an impact on the audience, a strong impact on the audience, just as the other artworks from the Purgatory series. And that's it, I think.
Thank
Are
you,
we on
Katja.
time, Marko?
Yeah,
Okay.
a little bit exceeded, like 2 minutes, nothing.
Okay, sorry, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, like it's not much. Okay, Katja, thank you for your presentation. The next presenter comes from Corvinus University of Budapest, and here is Anilla Till, and she's a third-year PhD student at the Corvinus University of Budapest. In her work, she is focusing on nature-positive communication in education, branding, and research, and encouraging pro-environmental behavior for planetary health in the creative industry. From January 2024, she will be a visiting research scholar at the Sustainability Institute at the University of Iceland. And from November 2024, she will be a visiting research scholar with a Fulbright scholarship at the Institute for Social and Economic Research at the University of Alaska Anchorage. She is expected to graduate from her PhD studies in August 2025. So the subject of Anilla's presentation is exploring nature positivity integration in art, based workshops for pro-environmental behavior change. So Anilla, please, you're welcome to start your lecture.
Hi, thank you so much. Do you see my presentation at the moment?
Yes, we see.
You see it? Okay, thank you very much for having me here. Very exciting. I've never been to a conference like this. Mostly I participate in communication science or social science related ones. So I'm very excited. And before I start, I have 2 announcements to make. The first one is that I'm actually in Podgorica until Saturday. So if any of you are interested to meet, I would be very happy to see any of you in real life as well. And the second is that this is a conceptual research. So as mentioned before, I'm coming from the background of basically communication and media science, and within that, environmental communication. So it's not a secret that I would like to basically be on board with art-related research. However, I would be very interested if any of you like this research idea or the stage that this is at, to partner up, to have a co-author, because I think it would be very nice to have someone who's actually an expert in arts, so we could team up. So that's one of the reasons why I also applied to this conference, so that we can maybe team up a little bit. So my topic is exploring nature positivity integration in art-based workshops for pro-environmental behavior change. And I will break it down a little bit on why I find this important and how I think it could proceed within research. Just as a little introduction, but we already had the intro, of course. I'm studying at Corvinus University of Budapest, which is actually in Hungary, not in Romania, but very often happens that people mistake it with each other. So it's at Corvinus, and a little bit of connection that I have to visuals, not necessarily visual arts, but visuals in general, is that I work very closely with graphic designers and those that create art. I myself, unfortunately, am not one of them, but I really like to work with them. So I also try to have a focus within my research on those areas, and I'm particularly interested in the pro-environmental behavioral aspect of it. And yes, of course, we mentioned that I'm going to work at the University of Iceland and University of Alaska. So it would be also very interesting to expand this research idea to those aspects, basically. So what is the background of this research? Of course, you might know that as humanity, we entered the Anthropocene, which means that now humans are having a big influence on how the earth is shaped. So even though this is a concept that is mostly present in social science, it's getting more and more attention in the research fields. So this is one of the bases why I would like to work on this, because of course, clearly it's important and we need change pretty quickly in every single way. We want to avoid anthropogenic feedback loops, which means that if we, for example, go over certain limits of the Earth, certain planetary boundaries, we might not be able to turn them back. So I'm sure you also follow the news. All the world leaders are talking about this at the moment. So this is something that, of course, urges us, humanity, to take a step and to take action. I usually base my research on the 3 pillars of sustainability, which is ecological, economic, and social. I mostly work with social and environmental / ecological sustainability, but of course, all of them are closely related to each other. And also to justify such a research project and this gap is basically sustainability have entered the public discourse. Even we could say that it's been a bit overused as a concept, but we need to find good and interesting ways to engage the people. So basically to have society on board and so that we can help people to change their behavior for the better. This shift, of course, as I said, that sustainability as a word has been overused for a while now. What many prominent researchers try to do is a shift from sustainability to planetary health, which means that we want to consider nature as one and basically the same aspect that we have on our own human health. So that is something that we can frame as a more positive approach, something that we work towards, we work for, and not just want to stop, like how we want to stop climate change, for example. So of course, planetary health as a paradigm is a great shift. And of course, what is most important is that we communicate these kind of behavioral changes the right way. So that's where my background comes. For example, how communication science can be used to change someone's behavior. Okay, so what do we need to change in our communication? Very often we can see that the dominant approach of communicating climate change, which is of course not the only environmental issue, but a very prominent, very important one that mostly comes to our minds when we want to think about environmental problems. Very often these topics are communicated via threats and shock and fear, but it seems like that these kind of communication methods, they either work on the short run or maybe even end up scaring the people. Of course, it is scary. However, very often people do not actually perform this behavior that would be better for the planet. So when we use such kind of communication, the expected behavior change only occurs in rare cases. So we have to find other ways, more inspiring, more positive ways to have the same behavior that will actually help society, but maybe communicated in another way. And of course, as I mentioned, if we overuse these kind of threats and shock-focused messages, the subject, the people, might underestimate the problem or even deny it. Unfortunately, it's of course very present at today's society as well to deny such problems because we don't have an influence on that. There's lots of negative feelings that come with it. So, of course, what we would like to have is to have an agenda of planetary health and pro-environmental behavior. And that's how it is good to explore ways of positive, effective framing. So see what we can gain if we perform pro-environmental behavior and how to have the nature positive approach. So how to have a focus on nature to see that it's good for our health, that it's good for our society, that it's good something that leaves us with a positive feeling. So that's how the research base is built. So how come art is included in this one? There was this one article that basically kickstarted this idea and basically created a base for this research idea, and it says art can provide alternative pathways of knowing and understanding the ecological crisis through provoking embodied, mindful, and emotional responses. The arts created days for personal expression and reflection that traditional education and outreach methods typically cannot. So of course, you are all experts here on art, so I don't even need to explain why this is relevant, but this was basically what kickstarted the idea to develop something where art can be applied to change behavior for the better for the environment. If we want to include art, of course, we need to consider that arts and cultural experiences can effectively communicate the impact humanity has on nature, so very nature-focused pieces. And of course, we can mention that based on that, building on the premise that art installations promote long-term fact retention, we can draw this basic concept of the object of art in science. So we objectify art in a way and use it within science, within communication science, to perform this behavior change. And what we would like to achieve is to raise awareness, to promote the understanding, and generate emotional responses from the public. So what I would like to introduce now is basically Kolb's experiential learning circle, which is we could say the theoretical background to this research project. So as you can see, there's some parts that go round and round, but eventually you come back to the same stage, and this goes on to learn more about a certain topic, let's say environmental behavior. We have active experimentation, concrete experience, reflective observation, and abstract conceptualization, which could be applied, for example, in an intervention, in an art-based intervention to change behavior. So that's how it would be basically constructed. And we use this model to create such an intervention that can be applied as a workshop to basically see what are the effects of it. So at this stage, we have the three kind of working research questions, like nothing is set in stone at the moment, but the three research questions kind of investigate the effects of such an intervention, of such a workshop. So to see how does integrating nature positive concepts in art-based workshops influence participants' pro-environmental attitudes and behaviors. So basically the nature positive concepts, what kind of role they have, how do they influence the attitude, in general, like, do we have to use positive frames, negative frames? What are the effects of it? So basically to explore that. As the second research questions, of course, we also want to reflect on Kolb's experiential learning model. So basically, in what ways do interactive workshops following Kolb's experiential learning cycle, and of course, incorporating the biospheric values closely connected to nature positivity, could foster reflection on the ecological crisis and inspire sustainable behavior change through nature positivity. And to close up as a third research question, it's nice to explore how do art installations effectively communicate and evoke emotional responses. So here the focus on the emotional responses regarding human impact on nature for pro-environmental behavior change. So here this is basically a framework. However, of course, during these kind of interventions, a lot more can come up. So here, I didn't include the slides, but here I'm at a stage where I would like to develop the methodology more in detail. So for example, what would be the actual proper description of the methodology? Would it be participant observations, then interviews, like how to construct the whole thing? And what I've seen is some inspiring papers where the methodologies could serve as a base, but of course here it has to be more defined. Wait. Oh, I lost the part with the literature, I think. But anyway, I collected some of the inspirational literatures as well, but of course, somehow I forgot to include the slide where those were listed. So what I would like to say here is that, as I mentioned in the beginning, I would be very interested to see someone who is very experienced in art to team up and to see how such an intervention could be designed from the art side, because from Kolb's experiential learning cycle, it is fairly obvious, I think, how such a progress could be built up. However, on the art side, what kind of art to be used, that would be very welcome to have some suggestions on that. So yeah, basically that's it. And maybe that was a bit different to what is usually presented at an arts conference. However, this would be an interdisciplinary study, so I hope you liked it somewhat nonetheless. Thank you so much.
Anilla, thank you very much about your presentations. I owe you apologies because I said Romanians.
It's okay.
That was just a classical word slip, and it also happened to me when I come in another countries, Western Europe. They usually mixed Montenegro with Macedonia, because it's yeah, but similar word. This is just the classical word slip. So sorry about that.
It's okay.
Okay. I have a question, but we will leave questions for the end of the session. Now I want to introduce the next presenter, Balsa Gobovic, Professor at Faculty of Visual Arts, University Mediterranean, Podgorica. Balsa Gobovic is the Master of Arts, holds the position of Assistant Professor. Soon he will be Associate Professor in the Department of Photography at the Faculty of Visual Arts, University Mediterranean, Podgorica, while a significant part of Balsa's works is devoted to academic research and teaching. He is equally dedicated to his personal photographic endeavors. Through his projects, he articulates observation and reflections on the natural and social environment that surrounds him. Balsa predominantly works in the traditional and analog realm of photography, utilizing film. Whenever feasible, he engaged in silver gelatin or alternative photographic printing methods. Beyond his academic pursuits, Balsa has contributed to numerous group and solo exhibitions showcasing his multifaceted engagement with the art of photography. So Balsa's presentations, the name of Balsa's presentation is The Reflection. So Balsa, you're welcome to start. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Marko. So hello, everybody. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather today. Like an Eskimo here in photo studio, as my students know how cold it is in here. So I would like to present today my project Reflection, or Odraz, and how it relates to art as a mean of social change. So in order to discuss this project, I would like to give my personal definition or more perception about what the art is. So art is a manifestation of creative thought translated into tangible form through physical expression. So with this statement, I would like to emphasize the core elements, which are creativity, thought, and tangible expression of those ideas through physical work. So the concept of art is highly subjective one, as we all know. In here, it has been the subject of debate and interpretation throughout the history. It's often considered a form of expression that involves the creation of something that is intended to evoke an aesthetic experience or convey an idea. It encompasses the wide range of human activities, including visual arts, literature, music, performance, and others. Purpose of art can be wide, such as conveying emotions, reflecting on society, challenging norms, documentation of history and culture, stimulation of creativity, identity, and representation, or simply providing aesthetic pleasure. It means it's a means through which individuals can communicate, explore, and interpret the world around them. Different people, different cultures, and historical periods have diverse perspective of what constitutes the art, contributing to the richness and diversity of artistic expression. Ultimately, the purpose of art is subjective and can be deeply personal for each one of us. People engage with art for a variety of version, and the significance and the impact of the artwork can vary widely from person to person, based on individual preferences, experiences, and perspectives. So successful artwork might touch on multiple aspects, offering something for various viewers to connect with, whether it is emotional resonance, aesthetic appreciation, or intellectual engagement. It's the dynamic interplay between artist's intention and the viewer's interpretation that makes art deeply subjective and personal experience. However, for this communication to be successful, artists and the viewer or social individual must be informed, educated, open to receive different opinion, therefore analytical and critical, and not just mere giver or acceptor. Two people might look at the same artwork and derive entirely different meaning or emotion based on their perspective and life context. This diversity in interpretation contributes to the richness and depth of the artwork. So this all being said, I would like to show some photographs to you from this project. And I will leave them on while I speak. I hope you can all see them. Marko, you can see the photographs, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I see.
So this all being said, a lot of very personal phrases is used so far. So to rationalize it a little bit, in his work, Camera Lucida, Roland Barthes distinguishes between studium and punctum as the two different ways of engaging with a photograph. Studium refers to cultural, linguistic, and political meanings in a photograph. It is more general, social conditioned understanding of a photograph, or its pure information. And punctum is an element in the photograph that pierces or pricks the viewer. It's highly personal and subjective detail that has a direct emotional impact on the viewer, maybe not intentional from the photographer at all. The punctum is often elusive and varies from person to person, reflecting a subjective and emotional nature of the viewer's response to art. The punctum could manifest in various ways, and it's more about the subjective response and emotional connection rather than the physical attribute. It might be the element within the photograph that evokes a specific feeling, memory, or personal association for the viewer. Something that pierces through the mere general or cultural interpretation, which is studium, and strikes the chord on a personal level. So in the context of reflection project, the punctum is more emotional quality, a certain expression or a subtle detail that resonates with the viewer. It's about the feeling gained from the picture rather than a tangible physical aspect of the artwork. The punctum could very well be related to the gaze of the sitter in the photograph. And once the punctum is added by the viewers themselves, I would like them to describe the work more than I like it, or it has a story, or it's personal. It goes beyond that information and encourages more profound emotional connection. I'm interested in that emotion, and in that description, and that description lies the conversation beyond the photograph. The photograph becomes the inspiration for the exchange of information, exchange of experiences, and therefore cultivation of learning and advancement. So to tell you a little bit about these 12 photographs, 12 portraits, how they are made, about the production. So the sitters would sit in front of black background, plain black background, so it doesn't make any impact or huge impact on the sitter. They're lit by natural light and photographed with something that we call large format camera. It's an old camera. It's an old camera in a technique called paper negative, which means that I use a negative as a sensor for catching the light. And the process itself, they would sit in front of the camera for next 12 to 15 or 17 minutes, just looking into the lens of the camera. And I would retrieve myself. I would leave the scene of the production of the picture. When the time is finished, when the production of the picture is finished, or I think it's finished, I would come back and close the shutter and then go and develop that paper in analog chemical process, and then scan it, digitally alter it, prepare it for printing, and the final prints are 80 by 60 centimeters long. So they're pretty big, and kind of give that larger than life feel. They have larger than life feeling to them. I will let them play while I speak. So in order to explain this project further and why some things are done as they are, I have to bring one more name to this presentation, and that is Susan Sontag, an essayist and cultural critic that wrote extensively about photography in her work on photography. Regarding portrait photography, she delves into a complex nature of capturing and interpreting images of individuals. Sontag critiques the way portrait photography can both reveal and conceal aspects of person's identity. There is always a tension between subject's desire of self-representation and photographer's desire for interpretation. She questions relationship between reality, appearance, and photographic representation in the context of portraiture. My decision to remove myself from the production process and not to interfere allows the sitter to interact directly with the camera, aligns with a certain conceptual purity, emphasizing a mechanical objectivity of the camera. This method creates a space for non-mediated self-expression by the sitters, allowing the camera to capture moments in a more candid and authentic manner. The emphasis is on the sitter and the camera, which results in authenticity of the image. Furthermore, it generates insights into relationship between photography and the truth. The extended exposure creates a visual aesthetic that captures the passage of time within a single image. The blurriness is a symbol of complexity and depth of the human experience, suggesting that the essence of the individual cannot be captured in a single sharply defined moment. The blurriness becomes a metaphor for the transitional state between self-representation and genuine representation. It introduces an element of fluidity and ambiguity, challenging conventional notions of portraiture. And this techniques allows for more exploration of identity and ever-changing nature of the self. The intentional introduction of the aesthetic choice raises the question about the nature of perception, memory, and the representation of self. It prompts viewers to engage more deeply with the images, inviting them to consider the temporal dimension of identity and dynamic interplay between the subject, the camera, and the time itself. So blurriness as representation of human complexity, the intentional use of long exposure times, which is allowed by using a paper negative as a receiver of the light, introduces an element of visual ambiguity and fluidity in the portraits. The blurred aesthetic can be seen as a metaphor for intricate and multi-faced nature of human experience and identity. It suggests that essence of individual extends beyond static, sharply defined image, acknowledging an ever-changing complex layers of personality and emotion. Transition from self-representation to genuine representation. By removing myself from the process and allowing sitters to interact alone with the camera, my intention was to create a scenario where individuals are left alone with their thoughts and emotions. The extended exposure times capture not just paused representation, but also reveal subtle shifts in expression and emotions over time. This approach moves beyond the traditional notion of the portraiture, aiming to capture moments of authenticity and genuine self-expression rather than curated self-representation. Temporal dimension of identity. The blurriness resulting from the prolonged exposure highlights the temporal aspects of identity, capturing the subject evolution and emotional fluctuation over time. It challenges the idea of fixed, timeless portrait, emphasizing that identity is a dynamic process influenced by the passage of time. All right. So connecting my project to a broader concept of art, culture, and education, I think is a crucial to answer the task that is given to us. So in the light of art, the project reflection is a manifestation of art as a creative expression. It reflects observation and thoughts about natural and social environment, the choice of traditional analog photographic methods and depth of artistic process aligning with the idea that art is creative expression realized through physical work. Culture, the project contributes, I hope, hopefully, to the cultural landscape by exploring the depth of human experience and portraying it through the unique aesthetic lens. It engages with cultural aspects of identity, introspection, and emotional expression. The fusion of transitional and alternative photographic processes are to be seen as cultural dialogue, bringing the past and present in the realm of visual representation. At the end, education. So as a lecturer, my engagement with the project extends into that area. Through reflection, I would like also to provide a learning experience to the viewers. The emphasis is on analog techniques, introduces students to the historical and viewers to the historical and technical aspects of photography, fostering the deeper understanding of the medium. So that would be my presentation. And in the light of what our task was here, I don't know if you can see all 12 in here, Marko. No, you don't.
Yes.
All 12, right. So in the light of the task that we had in this session, I would like to ask you, did you learn anything today from this presentation? Anyone? So if yes, If no, that is fine. If yes, then we proved this task or the question as affirmative, as a positive. Right. So that's it.
Balsa forgot the time, the moderator, and I need to ask questions. I'm just kidding. So just to turn the volume on because of the microphones. Okay. Anybody want to answer Balsa to his question? Okay. I have a question for all three presenters, and I will go one by one. So I have a question for Katya about the exhibition codes. And do you think that, did you think about mixing those drawings with some intermediate, or to put some movement or animation or sound? Because when I look at those, especially that black series, I can see some movement. So did you think about making some interdisciplinary method to implement movement or animation or sound or anything similar?
Well, not really, Marko, but if you want to do like a cooperation project, we can do it together.
Yes, I can take over the sound.
Okay.
Okay, I will ask the Anilla too, something about her approach. And do you think that maybe those exhibitions in space, in outer space, are better for your research than those exhibitions that are in inner space? So did you investigate that way, how that exhibitions or sculptures or installations or something similar affects us? Is it better to be outside, or to like make some specific exhibitions in some time frames that will be promoted, or have sculptural installation all the time in space and like to make the direct input?
That's a very good point, actually. I think it's how research shows is that having such an installation outside in nature would have a more significant effect. So I think how this could be approached in this specific research project is that there is one group for the intervention that is, let's say, an installation outside in nature, and then there's a control group that is indoors, for example. What I always struggle with when I design such interventions is that either way, let one of them be outside, the other one inside, it will have an effect. So then how do you have the third control group, for example, that has no intervention? So I always struggle with that, but I do believe, based on other results, that it will have a more significant effect if it's something outside. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree with you. So
Yeah.
I wanted to hear, did you think
Yeah,
about?
good point, yes.
Okay, and third question, the question is for Balsa, and because we live in the world that is very fast, making a lot of photographies in small amount of time, with very fast acquisitions and very with mobile phones and everything. So because you're doing something opposite, you're like making portraits that needs a lot of time. The person has to be in front of the camera for a lot amount of time. So like picking something more, just classic photography. So this approach, is it helping you to better know the person that you're photographing, like to make some other type of connection with the model?
So thank you for the question, Marko. There are two questions there. There are two questions. There is one question about the process, and there is one question about the fast world, I think. So to try to answer both of them, I think the process of creation is very important one, and I think that especially in today's world, photography is observed as through the click. And I think photography, because I'm advocate of photography as an art form, the photography is a process, and it's something that it cannot be done, or it is not done very quickly. Actually, there is a project that I'm working on. It's called Funnel, where everything that you know is going through your head at the moment of the picture taking of the actual click. So and also I think for different kind of conceptual work, conceptual idea, you need different kind of formal preparation or formal elements. So for this project, the appropriate one was a large format camera as a mechanical instrument, and the paper that is very slow in receiving light. So that's it. I don't know what is that the answer to your question?
Yeah, definitely, yes. So that's all from my side. Does anybody else have some questions?
If not, I would like to wrap up the conference. Is there anything, Mark, do you want to add?
No, I think it's all from my side. I enjoyed in this process, and I would thank you for inviting me to present and be moderator as a team of this great conference. So Natasha, thank you for that.
Thank you too. I would like to just say a few words, won't take long, just to wrap up in short these last 2 days. We gathered around 30 participants in 9 sessions, and we covered 4 topics, and some of the sessions were dedicated to artistic processes and artistic influence in the field and artistic work that artists are working around the world. And some of them have been dedicated to global topics. We tackled some history today, and also values in sessions related to cultural memory and values. We have been discussing different issues, and we can notice that we still likes to talk about socialist time. I think it's still something which is stick to our work and art or community. So we, even though if we are coming from ex-Yugoslavia area or from ex-Soviet area, so whatever part, or Yerevan or Podgorica, however, we still like to discuss that. So we covered some values that people are still linked to in this way or another. Then we had some global discussions on the cultural policies and state of art at the global level, and artistic approaches on the European level and further, that we discussed yesterday and partly today. And also we had a special Italian session discussing artwork and new art movements that are happening in Italy. I would like to mention this session this morning that we had possibility to see some artistic work from the Kurdistan, from Rojava, Syria, some artists from Sri Lanka, how they work, artists from Poland, then theater on disabilities. So we were going around the world in these 2 days, checking out what is going on currently. And what actually my point is when I was listing all of this is that the focus of all these sessions, especially the ones that are talking about global issues, is that all efforts should be on the local level. Actually, all efforts should be taken by individuals and by artists. And on the other side, we have these sessions, especially like this one and one prior this, when we see so many amazing artists who are doing their researches, even if they work in a research field or they're working more in an artistical field, like my colleagues from the visual arts, or they are doing some researches in a sense of preparation, some PhD material, like our colleague from Budapest, Romania, from Budapest in Hungary. So what I was pointing out is that this work in the field is so important, and this work in the field is something what it counts, and it's something that can be seen and recognized and related to by the audience, by the students, and at the end by all of us. Thank you so much for participating here. Thank you so much to my team, especially to moderators, Milena Dragutinovic, Balsa Gobovic, Marko Gosovic, Professor Radmila Janicic from University of Belgrade. She's here too. Thanks to my colleagues from the faculty, Maja Đuganović and Katarina Lakovic for the participation. Colleagues from the Faculty of Foreign Languages, Tamara Jovic, Olena, Lileva. Thank you all for joining us, and hopefully we see you in person next year. Have a good night, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Natasha.
Natasha.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.